Well, welcome back to the Ropes Family Podcast. We're on episode 46. It's a lot of episodes, Courtney.
It is.
It's 46 of them. I think we said that when there was 35 of them. We're getting closer to 52, which is a year of podcast. I think we actually started this podcast about a year ago. We started putting together ideas. We started recording in February of last year.
That's insane.
Posted them in March. So almost a year of podcasts. How do you feel? Do you feel like a podcaster yet?
I feel a lot better than I did a year ago.
I do too. I think that
my voice doesn't shake the entire time.
Yeah, and well, I still can't breathe. We talk about that. I just run out of breath when I'm talking in here. I don't know what it is about this room. If it's like, just I don't have any idea what it is, but I can't breathe sometimes in here. But I think we've gotten a lot better at podcasting. Maybe not a lot better, but just better.
A lot better. Those first few were rough.
Yeah,
Super rough.
If you are trying to listen to the Ropes Family Podcast for the first couple times, please just listen to our most recent. And then once you kind of figure out what and then you can go back and listen to those. Those are some good podcasts, content-wise, presentation-wise. No, we were just trying to figure it out. But I think we're getting somewhere, getting on the right track of doing things.
A little better.
So this week this week is Valentine's Day on Friday. Do you and Ben have any special Valentine's plans?
No. Absolutely not. I told him I don't even buy gifts for him because he's boring to buy for.
Well, just get him a pocket knife.
No, he's getting like Reese's.
Oh, Ben, you're getting Reese's for Valentine's
You
Day.
are. I mean, he has to buy his own Valentine's gifts. I mean,
that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Allison and I don't have any plans yet. It's just because we haven't really had time to communicate about Valentine's Day. It's Wednesday and we are just full blown in the week, and that's kind of a tough thing. But since it is Valentine's Day, I sent out a couple topics to Courtney, and then Courtney sent out a way better idea, which was a Valentine's Day episode. So today, it actually turns out we're going to be talking about marriage. So Courtney, can you define marriage for us? What is marriage?
the legally or formally recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship.
Wow. I like that.
Came up with it myself.
It's not a Webster's?
It was AI, actually.
Google AI
Yes,
is out
actually.
here defining marriage for us. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
What did it say? The legally or formally recognized union of two people as partners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess. I think marriage is a very Christian thing. That's where the design came from, I think. But still, I think it's more than just legally and formally recognized. I think it's God recognizes it, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. But Courtney, how do you build a biblical marriage? Since you are the marriage expert here,
Yes, marriage expert.
You guys have been
15 years.
15 years?
Yeah.
That's 5 more than Allison and I. So
Makes us experts.
you guys are experts at this.
I'm not sure
I'm gonna
that's true,
I'm
but
going to ask your advice on all these.
Yeah. I feel like marriage should be built on Jesus, of course, and then biblical principles and the truth, which is the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And Ephesians 5:33 says, "However, each one of you must also love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband." And I know these verses always get to women.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything about us, but having respect doesn't mean not having our own opinions or not helping our husband lead.
Yeah.
I don't think that God is saying that. He's just saying that, allowing your husband to lead your family is what is biblical.
Yeah, a woman respecting their husband isn't like just, it's not what we think about. Like, it's not as,
Archaic. That's my favorite word right now.
It's not like that. I mean, I guess it's partially like that. But I think it's different. So the question I kind of asked when you posted this is, what does a husband leading his family look like? What does it look like for a husband to deserve the respect of his wife? Is these verses tell us how a man should do that? They should love your wife as yourself. They should love their wives as themselves. And we're going to go through this whole passage, which we're actually going to go through it backwards, which is pretty funny. But
That was all me.
it's fine. It makes sense doing it this way. We're going to go through it backwards, but it's a husband loving their wife as themselves. But what does that even look like? What does a husband loving his wife as himself look like? We as men have different examples of what we can look at how to love our wives as ourselves. So what a husband is, there's those what even a man is, like the culture will tell us all kinds of things, and the culture's not even sure what a man is. But we can look at Jesus and we can get a very clear picture in verse 25, which is your next point. I'll let you get into that.
5:25 says, God calls husbands to a huge task. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Okay, so I'm not an easy person to love. Ben, no comments. But Jesus calls our husbands to love us, and I'm sure no woman's really that easy to love. Calls husbands to love us as he loves the church. Like, he loves the church so much that he gave himself up for us. Every one of us, people who don't even love him, he still died for them.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
That's a good point. And then at the end of that verse, and in verse 26, it says that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by washing of water with the word. So not only should husbands give himself up for his wife, but also should lead her in such a way that makes her more like Christ, the sanctification, sanctify her. He should lead her in a way that's pointing her towards Christ. And giving himself up looks different than what we think.
Right.
Of course we sing, I'd die for my wife. I'd take a bullet for you, babe. Of course there's that part of it, but but a man should choose his wife over the things of this world. Giving himself up for her means so much more than just dying for her. It means a life dedicated to loving her over everything else. And Jesus is that example. Like, he gave up everything. He gave up his life. He lived a perfect life. He gave up his life to sanctify us,
right.
to bring us back to the Father, to reunite us with him. And that's the role a husband should play, is giving himself up to lead his wife to do the same.
And then finally, we're back to verse 22.
Going backwards here.
So I did this backwards. God calls us as wives to submit ourselves to our husbands. Nobody likes the word submit.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard word.
Kind of freaks everyone
it's
out.
Like
when
obedience.
You say the word. Yeah.
Yeah, submit and obey.
That freaks everyone out. And I'm not saying we should be, wearing dresses and aprons and cooking and cleaning constantly. And
why not?
Well, okay, I'm not going to go there on the podcast. But
I bought Allison an apron one time. Actually, I didn't. My family did. They bought her an apron one time. It was pretty cute. I took a picture of her and wearing it, and she's not worn it since.
Well,
sorry for my family who bought that for her, but she hasn't worn it since.
But she likes it.
Yeah. She likes it so much, she kept it.
Well, yeah, she didn't. Give it to Goodwill.
It's definitely somewhere. Sorry. Back
No,
to
you're
your
good.
point.
We can have our own opinions and we can help our husbands lead in the household. It's just that he should be the backbone.
Okay.
And we should help him, not try to overpower or not try to do all the leading ourselves, which everyone knows I'm a very slightly assertive person. And I do tend to try to do things my way.
I mean, and I don't think that's just, I think people in general want things their way, and sometimes it takes a husband to not be passive in order to, I mean, you don't want to say not let your wife run things or wear the pants in the family, but, just don't be so passive. Participate in it, and Paul says in verse 31, I'm going forward. He says in verse 31, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Man and wife are one flesh. Once you're married, once you're together in that union under God, then you become one. It's no longer, me and Allison as individuals, it's us.
Right.
You know, this is kind of a side point, but Allison will be like, because somebody will ask me, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I said, "We're doing good." I don't ever say I'm doing good. And she's like, "Why do you do that? You put words in my mouth." I'm like, we're hanging in there. And she's like, "Don't say we're hanging in there. It makes it sound like we're doing something, we're bad or whatever." I said, "No, I think about myself as us."
Right.
And I'm not trying to I just do it I just came by that honestly. I didn't really think about it. Yes, we're doing good. You know, we are one flesh.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean we both don't have roles
Right.
that we play, right? You know, some of us do the laundry and some of us do the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing in the body of Christ. Like we all have our own roles that we should play in the body of Christ. It's the same thing when we're in the body of one flesh together. We both have our own roles. And wives submitting to husbands look just like husbands giving themselves up for their wives.
Right.
You know, we're together. We together are one. You know, it's not just you're going to submit to me and do what I tell you to do. And it's not just like you're just supposed to give everything up for me.
Right.
It's not you're supposed to be passive and I'm supposed to be domineering. It's not the other. It's we're both together one.
That's a good point. So now we're going to skip to some couples in the Bible.
Okay. What's the first couple? So when you say couples in the Bible, what are you talking about?
I'm doing a Bible study right now called In Her Shoes, and it's a study of women like as mothers and wives in quotes, because the Jewish tradition is a little bit different than what we think.
Wives is wives
lots
is
of them or
multiples.
Yeah. Anyway, the first one, of course, was Adam and Eve. I mean, I guess you call them married. They were God put them together,
created out of Go ahead.
You're good.
Do your thing.
In Genesis 2, God gives Adam Eve through his own rib, Adam's own rib. God introduces the concept of a man and a woman being one. Mm-hmm. And then in Genesis 2:24, that is why man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh.
Wow, it's like Paul was.
Wow.
Paul was using scripture to back up his scripture.
He knew.
He did know. He was studied in the Genesis.
Studied some.
Okay. I'll let you keep going.
Well, even though you laughed at this part, they were just happy and naked, living their lives in this garden.
They were what?
Happy and naked.
Happy and naked.
Yeah.
Is there a right way to say naked? Is it naked? Naked?
I don't know.
Naked.
It's naked if you're from this area.
Okay.
Not sure just people go around saying it, but
sorry.
Something.
Sidetrack. Okay.
It's all right. And they lived in the garden, of course. And then who came along? Satan. Mm-hmm. And he comes in to wreak havoc on their lives. He tempts Eve, and instead of turning to her husband for support or help, she falls for Satan's trick, right?
And here's a point. You know, Adam was right there. Mm-hmm. You know, like he was right there participating instead of, he was, you know, like I said, being passive earlier.
Right.
He instead of him, you know, leading his wife in the way that she should go, leading his wife to sanctification, to bring her towards God, he was right there participating in the sin with her. Mm-hmm. And so that's a danger of men not leading their wives right.
And it still happens today. Mm-hmm. It's not just an Adam and Eve problem.
Yeah.
I kind of took it as Adam and Eve show us that the devil is always working on one of us or the other or both of us. I mean, we're not immune to what he is doing. Even if we are an amazing, you know, church-going Christian couple, the devil's still at work.
Yeah.
And we have to keep our feet rooted in Jesus.
Yeah.
Both of us together.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You know, it's very important that we guard our marriage against the things of the world. I heard this on a podcast the other day. It's called the Family Discipleship Podcast. I learned a ton from this podcast. But they mentioned, you know, why do you lock your doors at night?
Keep us safe.
Okay. Are you trying to keep your family in?
No, keep bad things out.
Yeah, exactly. You're not trying to keep your family in like jail. I mean, sometimes I have to keep our doors locked at our house so our 2-year-old doesn't run off, disappears. But at night we lock our doors to keep whatever is outside
right
out. right? We don't lock our doors to keep us in necessarily, and we can get out when we lock our doors. And the enemy is always looking for a way in. He's always looking for just for us to maybe leave the lock unlocked one day, one night. He's always looking for, and it can happen really easy. There's lots of things that kind of get in the way of us locking our doors, right? Or of us, of things, and we may not even realize it, like our culture right now is so busy, right? Busyness can get in the way, can get in between a husband and a wife. Kids, they can get in between it, like we're so caught up in trying to care for the kids, trying to get kids chicken nuggets, trying to get them cheerleading, trying to get them here, there, or a kid is sick or whatever. There's a billion things that try to get in the way. Our sin gets in between a husband and a wife. It can just get in there and fester and just keep the door from locking, and let other things in. Or our selfishness. Our selfishness can play a huge role in separating a husband and a wife, right? Like I'm here doing this, and this, and what are they there doing? Nothing, right? It's super easy to paint us in a good light and make the problem not about us, and we're right there, not locking the door either,
Yeah. I've known some really good church-going people that have had their marriages destroyed because of, all four of these things put together, basically.
Yeah, things like that just happen, and it's not like people go into it meaning to do that. Like nobody goes in like, oh yeah, I'm gonna let my marriage fall apart.
Right? No.
But sometimes it's just like, hey, I'm just gonna choose this over my wife, or I'm gonna look at my phone too long, or I'm gonna be so involved with the kids' life and everything that they do that I'm gonna put my husband or my wife to the wayside. It's so easy to let that happen, and taking care of your kids isn't a bad thing.
No. We're one. It should be a group, joint effort.
And making your kids a priority isn't a bad thing, right? Those are good things. Being busy isn't always bad, as long as you're spending time with each other. As long as you're prioritizing your time. Sin is always bad, so don't let sin get in. And selfishness is usually pretty bad too.
Because love isn't selfish.
Yes, love is not selfish.
I was going to say, the other day my kids were asking who I loved most in the house, and I said, Dad. Like, you love Dad more than us? And I was like, actually, yes. In the Bible, it says I have to. And they were like, so you have to, but you don't. You love one of us more. I was like, no, I love Dad more than y'all.
This is kind of weird. I make it a point that my kids know that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, when your mom comes home from work, or if I see your mom, I'm going to see your mom first.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it a point to make sure that my kids know that I love their mom more than anything else in the world. I'm going to choose their mom over them, which is real crazy to say.
Yeah, it's strange.
I'm going to show my kids that what I have in this marriage is very important, and the thing is the marriage is going to be there when the kids are gone.
Yeah.
And so that's the other point, is why we need to guard this. If the only thing that Allison and I have in common are our kids, what happens when they're grown up and have their own lives? We're not going to have anything in common, or whatever, So it's very important that my kids know that I love my wife. I love Jesus more.
Right.
And then I love my wife next, and then them. They're very close second.
Yeah.
But it just is very important to model that and show that to our kids, for sure. Emerson, I love your mom more than you. I'm sorry. But I love you like a lot. You too, Elliot and Easton.
Y'all can all go commiserate with the Hill kids. Can't believe that.
And I'm sure that's kind of news for couples too. Like, oh, we're supposed to love our spouses more than our kids. There's a hierarchy, and that's so weird to say. It's kind of weird to say it like that, because the love that I have for my wife is different than love that I have for my kids. So it's not like I love them more, but it's a different kind of love that's more important.
We can get into all those types of love sometime. I'm not going there.
Not today.
Another couple that I like from the Bible that I like a lot. But anyway, Abraham and Sarah, or Abram and, how do you say her name? Sarai?
Yeah, Abram and Sarai.
Sarai?
You could say Abraham's.
I'm going to say Abraham and Sarah. So we all know the story. Sarah couldn't have children for Abraham. And even with God promising it to her, told her it would happen. Did she wait? No.
Mm-hmm.
She gave her slave Hagar to Abraham, right? Or Hagar, however you say it.
Yeah, either one.
And Hagar became pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Wow, surprise, surprise.
And Abraham kind of was pretty passive and was like, well, if this is what you want, then this is what I'll do.
Yeah.
And shocker.
Well, I mean,
And-
if you're cool with it, babe, go ahead. Are you sure? This is kind of strange, but
It's weird, but
whatever. I guess that's what you want me to do.
you want a baby so bad. It's weird. But anyway, he didn't even listen. He knew God promised them.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't even listen.
Yeah, this story is a great story or a great lesson to show that we should wait on God for the things He promises. Right? We can always we love to take things into our own hands and do them. And we may have do it out of innocence and trying to, like, hey God, I'm trying to do what you want me to do. Like I've talked about this in the past, like early on in my 20s, I felt like I was called to ministry in high school, and so I kept trying to get jobs at churches. I kept trying to, and I wouldn't get any, and then when I started here, I quickly learned why I didn't get those other jobs.
Yeah.
It's because I was nowhere near ready. I wasn't there. The timing wasn't right. I needed to wait on God, but it was hard. It was hard too. God, why you called me to this, but I'm still here, not doing anything. So it's tough to do things to wait on God. But what Sarah and Abraham needed to do was wait on God and be trusting on God and His timing instead of saying, okay, you've given me this promise. I can see the promise. Mm-hmm. What do I got to do to get there? I'm going to just do it. Well, this is maybe I can just give Abraham my slave and this will work. Maybe I can just do this. I mean, I'll just, like it's just one of those things. Like, and how did that end up?
Not good. In case you don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, God ultimately ended up fulfilling His promise to Abraham.
He did.
And Sarah, they did have a kid, but just kind of things happen.
There was a lot of stuff that went on, though. A lot of hurt.
There's a lot of things that are the result of that still.
Well, even in our marriages today, maybe we're not waiting on a baby. Maybe we are. Mm-hmm. But there's other stuff that we've asked God for or His guidance in, and it's not happening as fast as we want it to.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm pretty bad about going, okay, well, He's given me feelings that I, need to move forward with this. So I'll just jump in. Yeah. And it fails, and I'm like, why did it fail?
Yeah. Because you tried to do it on your own.
Because it wasn't God's plan. It was my plan.
Yeah.
So.
I understand that for sure.
Then Mary and Joseph.
Yeah.
I just love Mary and Joseph, actually. So I had a...
Mary did know, by the way, if you're asking about the song. Mary, did you know? They told her at the beginning of the story.
Literally told her. But I had to look. I didn't know.
They told Joseph, too. That's what we're about to look at.
Yeah. I didn't know when it says that Joseph was going to divorce Mary quietly. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize because in Jewish tradition, like once you're engaged, you're like betrothed, you're married. Mm-hmm. So I found that out literally today.
Nice.
Yeah. But they were not married.
Yeah.
When Mary found out she was pregnant. And so Joseph decides he'll just, cancel their engagement privately. He'll divorce her quietly. He's not going to make a huge scene. But then an angel comes to him, like you said, tells him, hey, Joseph, this is my kid. We're good. Mm-hmm. Mary's still your wife. And Joseph listens to the Lord. Mm-hmm. And that, do we always listen?
Yeah.
I mean, how hard would it have been as an engaged guy to be like, oh, hey, Allison's pregnant? Oh.
Yeah.
It's not my kid. Huh.
What happened?
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, and nobody would blame Joseph for that. But that's why the angel of the Lord came and stepped in and said, hey, this is what's going on. Was Joseph there when God told Mary that she was going to have a son? Was he there the whole time? No, he's finding this out right now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Makes more sense when you have more context, right?
And then Joseph was the protector and leader of their family. Mm-hmm. I mean, when God told him, you're going to take your family and flee, he did.
Yeah, he listened.
Packed them right up and went.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I always allow my spouse to be like, nope, I feel God's telling me to do this. I'm like, you sure?
Yeah.
Sure about that? Packing up everybody and leaving?
Yeah.
I don't think God told you that.
Because God didn't tell me that. So
yeah, he didn't tell me that. That goes back up here to hard to love. And then, of course, raising our kids in the Lord, like Mary and Joseph raised Jesus in the faith.
Yeah. They did all the things that you're supposed to do when you have a child. You raise your child in the way they should go, like we talked about last week, right? Or the week before, I can't remember. And that's them letting the word of Christ dwell within them richly, which was crazy because they were raising Christ at the same time. Sorry, if you hear that, it's a leaf blower.
Cleaning the yard or
they're cleaning
the sidewalks.
Sorry, excuse. It's not coming from us. If you hear that noise,
there are no chainsaws, whatever that is, leaf blowers.
But yeah, they were letting the word of God dwell within them. They were letting the word, they were teaching the word. They were raising the child in the way they should go.
Okay, your family challenge. I like it.
You like the family
it's a good
challenge?
One.
The family challenge, since it is Valentine's Day on Friday, fellas, it's tomorrow once this podcast comes out. So you have a little bit of time to make sure you can make this happen. But your family challenge is to enjoy Valentine's Day. Celebrate each other. Celebrate the ways that God has blessed your life because of your Valentine. Your spouse is a huge blessing on your life. And they're in your life in order to help make you who you're supposed to be.
Challenge you,
to help you grow, to help you sanctify yourself to the Lord, get closer to be more like Jesus. That's what they are ultimately there for. They're the perfect partner for that. You got anything else?
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's all we got this week. What is that? 46 episodes. 46 episodes in. We talked about marriage. Next week, we'll talk about something else. I think I got an idea. But we'll talk at y'all later. Happy Valentine's Day. Go ask your wife to be your Valentine. Apparently, you still have to do that even after you've been married for 10 years.
We don't know. My plans.
So go find a Valentine, and we'll talk at y'all later. Peace.